Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. As always, we have a great show planned for you. Still kind of recovering from the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, but things are sort of settling in. In the second hour of the show, we're going to bring to you computer and technology news. That's brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America.
1 minute until showtime.
And in the first hour, if you own a Mac, I've always said, you need to hear about St. Clair software. You need default folder. Running a Mac without it, as far as I'm concerned, is not an option. So we have St. Clair software here in the first hour talking about their newest version, default folder version 5, just released a couple of days ago. It's a complete rewrite. It's an amazing product. John Goto is here, the company's owner and lead developer for St. Clair software. So sit back, relax, as we bring to you 2 hours of the Computer America Show right here in 15 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And welcome into a Thursday edition of the Computer America Show. I think things are beginning to, settle down a little bit from CES. It's now, we're back to 4 days, and we had Sandy Berger on yesterday from CES and Josh Boykin from the day before on our Gamer Tuesday. We still have a lot of CES to talk about and items, and that will continue probably, the next few months because we have lots of guests that we're setting up interviews to have them here on the program. You feeling, you kind of feeling more relaxed, back in place now, Ben? Now that you're here,
I think that every experienced traveler out there will want to throttle me after I say the sentence, but can you blame jet lag for 3 hours? To and fro?
Yeah.
Because I'm still feeling tired. It's not the 12 or 14 hours from Australia or Indonesia or what have you, but it's still getting me.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, there were over 180,000 attendees at this year's Consumer Electronics Show, and I know you were out there trying to cover as many of the vendors as possible in the amount of time allotted to you. And you did a terrific job, by the way. I mean, it's amazing because most people say, hey, did you see such and such a vendor? And I expect you to say, no, I didn't get them. And you go, yeah, I went there and I saw them. I did this. So you really got around. You did your thing. That was
the professionals at CES, the ones who have done it multiple times. I believe they call that carpet treading or carpet work or something like that,
yeah.
Where you're like the people who are I don't want to say more important, but people who have been there a few times and can bring a couple lackeys, they don't have to put in carpet time anymore. They just they bring a couple of college interns and they have them do it, and they just sit back and talk to who they need to talk to. But realizing that I'm doing the grunt work and the higher up work at the same time, it was tiring. I think next time college interns are going to be a necessity.
I see. Okay, we'll have to keep that in mind. Well, I think next time you'll be better prepared, at least what to expect when you go out there. And
that too. That too.
All stuff. So. Anyhow, in the second hour of the show, we're going to be bringing to you computer and technology news, and that's brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, if you're a Mac user, you're going to be really interested because listen, some things are not everything is Windows. We're going to have St. Clair Software. They've been on the show a number of times in the past over the years, and they're going to be here with us today. We're going to have John Goto here. He's the owner and lead developer at St. Clair. We're going to be talking about Default Folder 10. And I have to say, if you have a Mac, you should automatically have this piece of software because, as far as I'm concerned, it's a necessity. And you'll see why when we get to that. If you have a comment or a question for anything we're talking about today, please give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. That'll get you on and get you through. We also, if you don't want to go on the air, but if you have a question for John or for myself or Ben or a comment, suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. Just go to any page at computeramerica.com. That's the internet home of our radio broadcast. On the upper right-hand corner of any page, you'll see it says Submit a Question. It's a link. Just click on it. It'll take you to a question submission page where you can type a question, comment, suggestion, whatever you like. Click the Submit button, and Ben and I will see that immediately, and we will ask that question or deal with it on your behalf. It's just that simple. The other thing that we invite you to do is watch the Computer America Show. We are a radio broadcast. That's very true, but also we provide live video streaming of our broadcast. We've been doing now for quite some time. Just, again, head over to any page at computeramerica.com, and on the yellow pull-down menu bar, it'll say Submit. It'll say Show Lounge. Excuse me. Just click on the Show Lounge item, and that'll instantly take you to our video streaming page. It'll begin automatically. You won't have to do anything, and you'll join the show already in progress. That happens if you do that anytime Monday through Friday between 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when we're live, okay? If you do that when we're not live, you'll go to the latest show, and also you can go to our archives page, again, on that pull-down menu, and watch any program that you would like if you want to catch up. It's a great way to catch up. But if you're listening to us live, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, the live video stream is really good because not only can you see me and you can see our guest today, but you can also see Ben, and although you can enjoy his magnificent image, Ben also has the technology to display websites, movies, videos, so you can see everything that we're talking about on today's show. It just kind of enriches the experience we call Computer America. So those are all the different ways you can interact with the program. And everything is at computeramerica.com. So we invite you to do that. Okay, anything else, Ben, before we get started?
Anything else? No, I think you covered just about everything. Again, looking forward to the news in the second hour. Mm-hmm. But other than that, no. I think we're good to go.
Okay, well, as I said, John Goto is here. He is the owner and lead developer at St. Clair Software. His flagship program is Default Folder 10, and that 10 is actually with an X. It's like Mac OS 10, the X. A lot of people say Mac OS X. It drives me crazy, but it's a Roman numeral. So Default Folder 10 that improves the open and save dialogues in Mac OS 10.
But it's brainwashed you though. Now every time you see, like, you used to call the Titan X the Titan 10 for some reason.
That's true.
They've got you trained. That X is 10.
Yeah, I've been pretty good. I usually say the Titan 10, but you're right. Yeah.
Good job.
So anyway, Default Folders 10's hierarchical menus, multiple sets of favorites, easily accessible list of recently used folders, integration with the Finder, and system-wide menu for accessing frequently used files and folders save you time and frustration. Now I have to say this, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I go on record as saying that every Mac owner should have Default Folder 10. There are not many programs out there that I say that about, but I truly say that here. I mean, Apple should have incorporated what Default Folder 10 brings to you, but since they haven't, and I'm sure glad that John is glad of that also, that they haven't. But this is an amazing, useful little utility. We'll talk about it, and we'll also talk about what he's added new to the brand new version 5 that has just been released a few days ago. John, welcome back into Computer America. How are you?
Good. It's great to be back.
And it's really nice having you here. So, John, why don't you tell our listeners in your own words exactly what default folder does?
Sure. Default folder, at its simplest, enhances the open and save dialogues on Mac OS X. Most users are familiar with the save dialog, certainly. Anytime you create a document and you click save, you get this little dialog box that allows you to specify what the name of the file is going to be and where you're going to put it. Mm-hmm. What default folder does is allow you to, in that file dialog, switch back and forth quickly between folders that you've used recently, favorite folders that you've set up, and also do things like set tags, find your comments, rename things right from within the file dialog. So you can basically do all of your file management there instead of having to flip back to the Finder and move things around and go find things. It has a few particular features that users really like and save a whole lot of time. One of them is called Finder Click, and what this does is, let's say you've got a bunch of folders open in the Finder, a bunch of windows, and you go to save a file, and you want to save it in the folder that you've been, moving stuff around with in the Finder. With default folder turned on, you can just click on that window in the Finder, and the file dialog automatically just goes there. Saves you having to navigate and find the folder in the little folder hierarchy that's displayed inside the save dialog.
That one little simple thing alone would have made the default folder worth it. But that's just one of the many things it is. But yes, I know that if you have an open window sitting at that normally is buried way down on your hard drive and who knows where. With the normal Mac open and say, when you say save, it doesn't know that it's where you want to put it. It basically, I think it just goes to.
It takes a guess.
And you don't really, and of course, you might not want to go there. So then you have to cancel out of the open save dialog because that kind of prevents you from doing most everything, and then kind of get to that place. But even if you can get to it, you still don't remember the path to it. You normally you have to remember the path. You have to in the save dialog. You have to click on the drive and then the first folder and the second folder. You have to keep doing that manually. Whereas with the default folder, if it's open on your window, just click on the window and it takes you right.
I mean, John, this all seems like a not world-shattering. Oh my God, don't buy a Mac because of this. But it seems like a nuisance, a headache, a pet peeve, for some people. Why hasn't Apple done something to alleviate this problem?
That's a really good question, Ben. I honestly don't know. I've been having people tell me that Apple should incorporate these features into the OS for probably 10 years at least.
Years.
And Apple hasn't seen it as a necessary thing. What they've done, in a number of apps is just gone away from saving files in general. That seems to be their end game. I don't really think it makes sense for all applications. For doing things like managing your music, you can keep it all in what we call a shoebox, right? So it's all within the application. They just haven't. I don't know if they haven't had time to address it, but it's one of those things that I'll give you Windows is better on the file dialog side, I have to say.
Now with Windows, can you do something similar to that, or when in the save dialog box? How does it, or do you still have to kind of drill down to where you want it to go?
You want to answer that, Ben, or you want me to talk about it?
No, for Windows, it's such a non-issue that I never really thought about before. You have a default, like let's say you have a browser or something like that, as a default folder that you can send everything to.
But it's not the default folder because Mac sort of has the default.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've got the sidebar with, and you can add some favorites to it, and so you've basically got default locations.
Mhm.
Windows does include recent folders, though,
Right.
if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And I guess the Mac does too, but they're just not very good.
Yeah.
For example, on the Mac, you get a few recent folders in the drop down above the file list.
Yeah.
I think it's a max of 5 or something like that. But for whatever reason, OS X doesn't actually track recently used folders very well. And so there's a good chance that the folder that you used recently isn't actually in OS X's recent folder list. And that's one of the things, default folder actually tracks folders better. There's a bunch of code in there to actually find out what folders you've used, because Apple's mechanism doesn't actually work that well. So Apple has done some of it, but in kind of atypical for Apple fashion.
Right. And not the way people use it. It's not very usable. Okay.
Right. I mean, the features are there, but and they work okay.
Yeah.
But not to the point where, I mean, a lot of our customers are graphic designers, writers, people that open and save a lot of files, and they just sort of, they look at default folder and it's kind of like, oh, finally. If you save a lot of files, these little, 20 seconds that you waste every time add up fast.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we're just talking one small element. I mean, we want to get into more of the details where, for example, when you want to save something and then you see a list of names in a particular folder, you can click on the grayed out names and it will change the name to that. So if you want to make it 1, 2, 3, you don't have to type the whole thing in over. It'll just actually pick up the name of the file that you click that's displayed for you. Again, you can't do that with the Mac. I mean, there are many functions. We're just basically talking about the very first thing, the basic functionality of default folder, but we're going to get into many of the details.
I'm hoping that every Mac user that doesn't have this out there is saying, that would be nice.
And it is. I mean, I've looked. You look at the page of at St. Clair Software. If you go to their website, we have a link to it at our website, computeramerica.com. If you go St. Clair Soft, STCLAIRSOFT, and you click on the default folder page, Ben, you'll see if you're watching. If you click on default folder, you'll see testimonials of people talking about the product, and so many of the testimonials are from people like, I kicked myself. I wish I had this, years ago. I can't believe, the amount of time that I've saved. You'll see this testimonial after testimonial after testimonial, people just raving about how much time, because it does. It may be only 5 or 10 seconds each time you do it, but if you do it a lot, it's an enormous advantage to have something like this running and doing this for you. And that's why I keep saying, if you have a Mac, you need default folder 10. It's just that simple. It's one of the very few. I guess you worry, John, that that one day Apple's going to wise up and say, okay, well, we'll put that in, and when they do, basically, I mean, that's what happened with things like Conflict Catcher. If you remember it, there were a number of these really great products out there, and so, but Apple didn't give you Conflict Catcher with it. They took away the inits. They took. Right. I mean, so they made it so it was not necessary anymore. But I'm sure you can think of countless examples where Apple would add something that a utility did, and then it's sort of like put the person out of business. Do you worry about that? That they're eventually going to see, hey, he's got the right idea. Let's just do it. Or better yet, you think they will come to you and approach you and just purchase your code because you've done all.
No. Apple doesn't purchase other people's code. They go out and rewrite it themselves. Yeah. But this has actually happened some in default folder. There are certainly features in OS X now that used to be solely provided by default folder, and Apple said, oh, that might be a good idea. And they've added tagging, which wasn't a part of the OS at all. They've also incorporated, the recently used folders didn't used to be there. The sidebar sort of lets you save favorites, but not very easily, and doesn't work very well in a few
No,
cases.
well, do you?
So Apple has added some of the features. So yeah, I worry about it, but so far Apple's attention seems to be elsewhere, especially these days. um,
You foresee maybe now they finally doing some of this, and you have to get a lawyer and say, hey, this was my idea first, and you can document it, and then you're tied up with a legal battle, or maybe they just say, okay, well, we're not. It's going to cost us more. Let's just buy the guy out, and then not have to worry about it, because let's face it, they're cash rich.
That'd be nice. Sure, I wouldn't argue.
I remember, for example, when the dock came out, there was something called Confabulator. I don't know if you remember that. Did what the dock did, and then Apple came out with the dock, and then of course, and I believe there was a bit of a legal battle back then when of course Confabulator lost, but I don't know if
there have been a number of products. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of recourse if Apple decides, if the 800-pound gorilla decides to sit on you, you don't really have a lot of choice there. But so far I think default folder addresses, it's sort of a bunch of features that should be there, and each feature in and of itself, I think, is not big enough to be on Apple's radar, and I think that's why they haven't really, gone and done some wholesale change and added everything, is because if you bring up these things individually, they're kind of like, oh yeah, that'd be nice, but But when you actually put them all in there together, it really makes for a much more convenient, compelling user experience. And so, again, it's just not where their focus is. They've got bigger problems. And bigger goals. Their default folder does things like coordinates between open save dialogues in the Finder. For example, if you save something in an open save dialog, you can then go to default folders menu in the Finder and open that same folder, because it's in your recent folders list, and say, oh, no, now I want to go and move that file somewhere else. You can just go. You can go to it in default folder and pop it open in the Finder. So default folder lets you go back and forth between the file dialogues in the Finder.
Yeah, that's another thing that I love about it is that if you don't remember where that folder is,
right.
Your open and save dialog is on. It happens to be on that folder. You can go to default folder and say open that folder in the Finder, and
right.
then there it is, and then you can trace the path back. I have found more lost folders using that technique. Because I couldn't remember where I put that folder. It was buried, and then I actually used it, default folder, intentionally to find the folder, which I couldn't find. It was so buried. It turned out it was actually in a folder that I'd put in one day, and then I said, oh yeah, and then I totally forgot where that was. Default folder, let me find it, and then I hit the path thing, and I can say, oh, I stuck it in there. That's where it was, and then move it then. So
yeah, so that actually appeals more. It's interesting because I was talking before about we have web designers and writers and graphic design people that use it all the time and are very focused on the 20 seconds and 30 seconds it saves here and there, and then the less the non full-time people that aren't using their Mac 10 hours a day or something, they actually appreciate, like you were saying, the features where it's like, oh, where did I put that, and you can go back to your recent folders and find it. So it kind of appeal, there's some features that sort of appeal to what you'd say, I guess, are both ends of the market: the casual user and then the professional user. But yeah, the being able to go back and find things and to integrate, the Finder and the file dialogues together. And I guess I should touch on that now. One of the new features in Default Folder 5, speaking of which, is that it now has an incorporated menu right in your Finder windows. So you can, in your Finder toolbar, click on the default folder icon. It'll pop down a menu with all of default folders, recent folders, favorite folders, all that kind of stuff right there, and it'll actually just switch the Finder window you're in to whatever folder you choose.
That is very slick. I was playing around with it today. When we get into more of these, because you've added quite a lot of features in default folder 10 version 5,
Yeah,
and
10
we're going
5.
to get into that. But you're right. One of the things that kind of threw me off is that default folder used to be in the system preferences, and I said,
Yeah.
where is it? It's not. It was just gone. But I have so many ways of getting to it now. I mean, you have it up in the upper right-hand corner. The D appears in the upper right, which I think is actually very, very convenient, and actually probably more convenient because before I had to open system preferences to get to that. Now I can just click on it from wherever I am and I get to it. So I think that was a smart move on your part. You might want to mention that and says, hey, for all the earlier, we removed this from system preferences.
Yeah, that's something that has to go into the frequently asked questions today, actually, because we released on Monday, and I've gotten that question.
Okay.
At least a dozen times, or somebody who said, "Oh, I dragged it to my application folder like it said, and then I rebooted it, and it's not there." So you have to click on it because it's an application.
Right. And you have to. And I think you have to turn it on to appear. I don't think it comes defaulted with it appearing in the upper right-hand corner. I think you.
Oh no, it does.
It does. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It shows. It does. It basically once it's running, it does everything that the old one did.
Oh yeah.
Plus more,
yeah.
except that it's not in system preferences.
Right.
And you do have to run it once to get it. To get it to launch and basically upgrade you from the old version. So yeah, that's you try and plan for all of this stuff.
You do. And you see evidence of that, John. I mean, for example, one of the things when you're installing default folder 10 version 5 is that it says, "Would you like me to copy all the preferences from the early one?" That's wonderful. Otherwise, you have to go there and you have to remember all the settings you had before. Now you just click say yes. And it's done. That's nice. So obviously, a lot of deep thought has gone into this. Was default folder 10 version 5 a total rewrite? I think that was suggested. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I actually started from the ground up basically and rewrote all of it. There are a couple reasons for it. Number one, because of changes in El Capitan, it required some major changes to the plumbing in default folder. All of the groundwork is had to be different for macOS 10.11. And
it makes all the
sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Apple. No, but the flip side of it though is that as a software developer, your viewership may or may not be aware of this, but they can probably see it in the applications. As applications get older and more features are added and things like this, think Microsoft Word, right? You start tacking on more things, and some of those features weren't necessarily planned in the beginning, and so they're kind of like bolted on in places. And if you look at the actual software code underneath, it gets pretty messy, and it gets harder to maintain. And things are not necessarily because it wasn't planned. It's it's kind of like building your house and then tacking on an office in the back, and oh yeah, well we had to put the bathroom over on the other side of the kitchen because there wasn't really room because we didn't really plan it this way, right?
And you have to put a lot of Y connectors in the plumbing, and
Right, exactly. Same thing happens in software, and so getting an opportunity, I do look at this. Number one, it was a ton of work to rewrite it entirely, but the good part about it is that it gave me the chance to basically reorganize everything, build the architecture for 2016 instead of it's been being changed since 2001.
Wow.
So it was a great opportunity to actually sort of set things up for the future. It's much easier to work on now.
So you bear no ill will to Apple for making all these changes because it finally got you.
Yeah, it got me off my butt. So but it's sort of the way it is with software, and sometimes we really, you need a real major shift in order to motivate and enough to generate enough engineering need to really just go and rip it out and rewrite
I mean, you've gone through all the iterations. I know, obviously, with Snow Leopard and then they went to Mavericks, and they went to then Yosemite, and now finally you had it working fine through Yosemite. So when they went to El Capitan, you said there was enough major changes that you said, okay, we're going to have to do this. How much time did it take you to do this rewrite of the Default Folder 10 version 5?
Well, my girlfriend says that I've been working 60 hours a week since May.
Wow.
So it was a lot of work. It's one of those things that I'd actually started in 2014 with proof of concept because I knew some of these changes in the OS were coming, and so I'd been planning.
Are you psychic, or does Apple tell you these things as a developer?
Well, they didn't really tell us, but as a developer, you can sort of see the writing on the wall on some things. Apple has been focusing on security for the last few OS releases, and one of the things that Default Folder 4 did is it injected code into each application.
Yeah.
It basically took a little it installed a little plugin in every application, and that's how it knew that a file dialog was going to come up.
Yeah. All right, John, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to continue on.
Sorry.
We got lots more coming up. I got a lot more questions to ask you about the version 5. This is the Computer America Show. St. Clair Software is here. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Radio. Oh, cool. I thought it was just haunted. Hi, it's Marty Winston with the News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America. This time, it's bedphones. Bedphones are purpose-built headphones for wearing to bed, but not just. They're as light as earbuds. But nothing enters your ear canals, so there's nothing to torque it when you put your head down on the pillow. Instead, a thin disc floats above. You position it by bending an ear hook wire, a very easy deed. The sound quality is extraordinary, perhaps in part because the disc shape allows a larger diaphragm. We detected no shaping or spectrum boosts to color the sound. So bottom line, bedphones offer a comfy way to enjoy really good sound, very good sound quality, whenever you want it, even at bedtime. Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yes, 33 minutes past the hour. That was Marty Winston with a News Tip Bulletin Review. We are here with Mr. John Goto, I believe.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, and the default folder, X5, 10.5, what have you, the new rewrite, and we were just getting into, just all the work that John has been putting into this thing, because, it seems like you were able to patch, Band-Aid, that kind of thing for, a decade or so, but when you mentioned that it's going to be easier to work on going forward, what does this mean for future iterations of operating systems? Does this mean that you'll be able to more easily, keep it up to date faster, or, what did all this work pay off as?
Well, that's a good question, Ben. It's a little bit of both. Obviously, the infrastructure is a lot cleaner now, and so, yeah, updating for new versions of the operating system, dealing with any problems that arise and things like that, is much easier. It's got a whole bunch of built-in testing inside of itself now, so that I can run test suites and basically double check on a lot of the functionality without having to go out and do the whole beta testing thing and grab a bunch of people and have them run it.
That's nice. I take it's more modular in design.
Yes.
So you have
much more modular.
Okay.
Which brings me to the second part, which is adding new features and extending the ones that are there is much easier. The whole thing is very modular and sort of coordinates itself without having to tie everything too closely together. So yeah, I've already got a bunch of features sort of in the plans that I didn't have time to put into version 5 that I want to build out. And so yeah, there are hooks already in there for a lot of it, and the rest of it will be pretty easy to add.
So let's get to some of the new features, because we have about half an hour left, and I know we're kind of explaining what default folder 10 was all about, and you've added a number of new things which I really like. One of them I noticed is in the dialog box. When you open there's like a little area now. I think it defaults on the left-hand side where you can actually put documents in.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. That's really cool.
That's something, for lack of a better term, I call it the drag zone. But it allows you to drag and drop things in and out. You can, in file dialogues, for example, if let's say you're working on a project and switching between 2 or 3 folders, you can just drag the folders into there and then double-click on them to go back and forth between folders, or to open a particular file. If you need quick access to it all the time, you can just leave it in this little drag zone on the left-hand side. The other neat thing about it is that drag zone also appears in the Finder. There's now default folder has a little drawer that if you click a button, the drawer rolls down below the currently active Finder window. That shows the same content. So if you drag something into there in the file dialog and then go to the Finder, it's in the little drawer below your Finder windows. That lets you, essentially throw something there for later use. If you want to move or copy something, if you want to, do something in the Finder with that file that you can't do in default folder, which I guess isn't much, but but maybe you want to do some management in the Finder. You can drag things in there. And so that's sort of serving as a sort of a mini dock of sorts that you can use mostly for temporary things where you want to drag something over and then drag it out to somewhere else later, or keep it really at clickable, easy access. You don't even have to get into default folders menus to get to it. So that's new, and that is still. As a software guy, I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to add all of the stuff for that. And
Well,
so
but
there are.
you have a list now moving. I mean, so you've come out with version 5, and then you'll have 5.1, and then 5.
Right, exactly.
So you don't have to have it all at the unveiling. I mean, as a matter of fact, things can get a little out of hand or dicey or kludgy if you're not careful. You obviously fall back into the way you had before. You've made the effort to make this program modular, and you've rewritten it, so you don't want to undo what you've just done, right? So,
exactly. So yeah, I mean, taking the time to get the things right,
Right.
and a large part of the testing on version 5 was actually making sure that all of the base functionality, all the really important stuff, getting
Right.
back and forth between files and folders, and making sure that all works smoothly. That had to be right first, obviously, and so we spent a whole lot of time with that.
Out of curiosity, how's it being received? I mean, what kind of reaction are you getting so far?
It's been overwhelmingly positive. I was, as a developer, you're always a little worried when you push that button. It's kind of like, okay, here we go. Hope we didn't miss anything. But it's actually been surprisingly well received. I mean, because you had to turn off system integrity protection in El Capitan to run version 4, everybody's absolutely thrilled that okay, now it's out, and all of these I have default folder back, and everything's working great, and people are just first and foremost happy to have it back.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting lots of good feedback on the drawer thing in the Finder and the little drag zone, and the support for tabbed Finder windows, which Apple added the tabs in the Finder windows. When was that? Mavericks?
Yeah, I think that or Yosemite. I'm not sure.
I think it was Mavericks. But anyway, so Apple added tabbed Finder windows, and default folder at the time, and again, this was one of those, okay, it's old infrastructure, I can't bolt this on anywhere. Default folder didn't know about the Finder tabs, and so Finder click, you could only, when you clicked on a Finder window, it would only let you go to the folder that was
open
in the frontmost tab, right?
And
now Finder click, you can actually right-click on the Finder window, the highlighted Finder window, and it'll actually pop up a menu with all of the different tabs in it.
That's so sweet. That is so nice.
Yeah. So little things like that. I mean, some people really rely heavily on the Finder tabs, and they're, I've gotten a bunch of emails. They're absolutely ecstatic with it. It's kind of like, oh, finally, this really works well. Yeah, cool, thanks.
Right, and it wasn't accidental. Yeah, exactly. It was very, very intentional.
Yeah.
You're right, but it's funny because end users, they don't appreciate. A lot of people just don't appreciate. They just want it to work. And
that's the developer's job.
Yeah, I know. And the developer, gets the good and the bad, without realizing, well, it takes a little while for me to get it there. So, but look, I've been playing with it for a couple of days, and everything I've been throwing at it so far, it looks great. I mean, it's been tight. The action's tighter. It just like it's more well thought out. Out of curiosity, what language did you use to write default folder? What is it written in?
It's all written in Objective-C.
Right.
There's some people working on Swift, but Swift isn't. The language is a little bit of a moving target still, and I didn't want to invest quite that much code in something that I was going to have to make major changes to every time.
Got it. Well, it sounds to me like you feel comfortable with it, and this. So let's talk about some of the other new features. I mentioned one. I noticed that. It's hard for me to keep track of every little one because I use it, generally, and you're the developer, obviously you know everything. One of the things that I noticed, and I could be wrong, but it looked like on the bottom of the dialog there was a little V, a little arrow that you could click and it would open a window down.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That seems to be. What is that?
So the default folder has these attribute panels, these little extra panes at the bottom of the file dialog that let you set set tags, comments, change the permissions on a file or folder. Shows you a big a large size preview, and and a bunch of attributes, whether the thing is stationary, whether it's what the label is on it in the Finder, things like that.
Mhm.
So those existed in default folder 4, but opening and closing that pane at the bottom was a real pain, and
Yeah.
it was kind of tacked on. And so again, now it's been redesigned. It's integrated. There's a nice little disclosure thing where you just click it and it goes whoop, and you click it again, it goes and pops back out of the way. So you can show and hide it easily, so that it's not taking up extra space when you don't want it, and it's easy to get to all the attributes of files and folders when you want them. So yeah, that's little user interface difference that actually makes a big difference to people, just in terms of how much time and how easy it is to use.
Right, and you also, I don't know if this is necessarily new with this version, but I like that you have different styles of the default folder information attached to the open and save. You could have the icons on the right or on the left. You can have them like with white or black. The one that I thought was new, but it was like a miniature version of.
Yeah, the miniature one has always been there, but yeah, it was kind of clunky. So again, redesigned it, did better icons, cleaned everything up.
It looks really nice, and so if you don't want all the additional real estate being taken up by that particular dialog box, you can tell default folder just give me a minimal amount of
just use this little teeny thing with the buttons in it, and that's it.
Buttons and that you do have some hover. I mean, if you hover over them, I believe they kind of tell you what it is that they're doing. I mean, which has become a standard in the industry, and one that I really like, because you have this button and go, what is that supposed to be? And you're afraid to click on it, because if you click on it, it could do something really bad, and you don't want it to do that or something yet. So I've always thanked programmers who have the foresight to, well, if you hover over it, it'll give you a little yellow dialog pop-up box. If you click this,
the little tool tips.
Yeah, it'll let you know what it's about to do. So I go sometimes, oh, that's great, and the other times, boy, am I glad I didn't click on that. Because,
anything that's going to do anything major, at least in default folder, it gives you a warning before it it lets you delete something.
Yeah, there's nothing more that I like than when I see a command and it's got the three little dots, dot dot dot, which means okay, well, I'm going to have one more thing to say, okay, do that or don't do that. What makes me really nervous is when you have a menu suggestion and there are no three little dots after it. That means, okay, well, I click it, it's going to do whatever
it's going to do. Whatever it says it's going to do, and I hope I understand what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just part of the experience, and. But I have to say, with default folder, you really do put a lot of thought into this, and I've been only using it for a day now, but I'm extremely pleased with what I'm seeing. How long was default folder 10 version 5 in beta and beta testing?
We started beta testing at the beginning of October, and so it was October, November, December of just going through, and a lot of it was a combination of, oh, this doesn't work right, or this needs to work better, and things like confusing wording for things. I got a bunch of suggestions for, why don't you change this preference so it says this? I'm like, oh, that's a much better way to word it, because like you were saying, you don't always know what that's going to do when you click on it, and so it sort of ran the gamut of things that crashed, and then very sort of fine-tuning the user interface to make sure that it's as easy to understand as possible and just makes sense when you look at it.
But it's a fine line, because if you do it one way and then it gives you one warning, but after you know what it does, you don't have to be informed again. So then it's an extra click that I have to do every time. I know it's going to do this. So in order to prevent that from happening, I think the just hovering over the bar. So
yeah.
That to me is because then you don't lose an extra click. Every time. Are you sure? Yeah, I know.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that works out to be the best, because if you, for some reason, once you understand what it is, you don't need to be told again. For the most part.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So I'm always glad, and it seems that you have that working with this.
Yep. Yeah. The tooltips do help, and there are also, I mean, in some of the dialogues, there's a "don't warn me again" or "don't tell me this again" kind of thing.
Like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that always worries me, because don't warn me again, because then if I click check the box and go, well, what about?
Can I ever get it back?
Yeah. How can I ever get it back? Exactly. I feel like I'm burning a bridge, so I would rather you stay with the tooltips than check.
Yeah.
The application is not gonna get huffy with you. It's like, oh, Craig's too good for our tooltips.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
it's always a bit of a fine line there.
Yeah.
I mean,
tooltips, you can't go wrong. I mean, you hover over the feature, and that's it. And you don't lose anything. And if you know it, you just click on it, boom, and it does it. So I think that's sort of like a win-win situation. So rather than don't display this this message again, has a little bit of the burning bridge syndrome.
Well, yeah, and especially if you share a computer with somebody else, you don't necessarily want to. It's kind of like, but she might not know that, so I better leave this on.
Yeah.
Even though it's annoying for me.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think tooltips really does.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the tooltips are better that way.
Yeah, they are. So I'm mentioning some of the new features. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to look at them. Why don't you tell our listeners what else you've added on default Fold 10 version?
Let's see. Well, first there's El Capitan, full compatibility with that.
That's important.
The tabbed Finder windows that we talked about. The new menus in the Finder toolbar. The drag zone that you mentioned. And the corresponding drag and drop drawer that comes down in the Finder. It also tracks files as well as folders for recently used items, and so you can now just directly choose a file that you've worked on previously, and open it directly instead of going to the folder that contains it and then finding the file in the folder, whatnot.
And again, I love the fact that you now have it in the upper right-hand corner toolbox. Is there a name for that area? It's where the time and date stamp are usually,
oh yeah.
Is there a name for it? I always say upper right-hand corner.
Officially, they're called status items. But that doesn't really impart any useful information. So most people just call them menu bar items.
Menu bar item.
Menu bar menus. Yeah.
Right. It's on the right-hand side. With the left-hand side has the the file edit view. That's
right.
On the right
Those
side.
are your standard application menus, and the other ones are system menus on the right-hand side.
But I've always tried to keep those to a minimum, because, as you know, it's like menu toolbars on a browser. You have and you look at the upper right, and they're halfway across your screen. You go, yeah.
Have you tried Bartender?
No, is that okay?
Random plug for utility I like. Yeah, there's a tool called Bartender that will actually it lets you organize all of the items so you can change the order of them and things like that, because sometimes you can't. And it also will allow you to make it puts its own icon in there, and then when you click on it, it drops down a sub menu bar. So you can put some of those items in another bar that pops down below that.
Okay.
So for things that you don't use often, but you still want in your menu bar because you use them once a day maybe, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, Bartender is actually really convenient.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, but some of them the OS allows you to drag them in the order that you want in the upper right-hand corner, but not all, as you say, not all allow you to do that. I don't know if that's a function of the operating system or the function of the program that's written to put a menu.
It's a function of the operating system. The ones that OS X provides, you can drag around. The ones that third-party applications provide, you can't.
Okay.
Which is a little frustrating for us application developers.
Must be nice. Yeah. All right. So that you clarified it. So Time Machine and all Wi-Fi status.
Time Machine, sound. All of the Bluetooth.
Right.
AirPlay, what else have I got up there? Those you can all drag around. But yeah, anything that's provided by an application, you can't.
Okay. And so Bartender takes not the Apple ones, but the...
It manages the Apple ones too.
Okay, so it manages them all, so you can so basically
Yes.
you have one area, because I haven't gotten to that status yet, but that's because I've been quite frugal about which ones I turn on. I don't have Bluetooth turned on. I don't have all. I basically have them turned off, and because I know I can find most of them in the system preferences. But
Right.
default folder you want to have access to.
It has to be up there.
Yeah, it has to be up there. And so I've added it to my very few and limited amount of icons.
Well, I'm honored.
Well, there it is. I mean, because as you say, you're taking it out of the preference pane, and so you can't go that route anymore. And quite frankly, I like it better because it saves me at least 2 clicks each time. And you go, oh, come on, 2 clicks, big deal. Well, but they add up after time. You feel like you're OCD. you think that, oh, I have to click here, you become obsessive about it. Whereas if you can just do it in 1 click, hey, it's nice, and they add up. So you want to try to keep those things to a minimal if you use your computer every day. So all right, so now tell us a little bit about the cost, the price of Default Folder 10 version 5. I know the earlier versions upgrading was a free update, but you've decided obviously, and
Right.
rightfully so, I would think, because of all the work you put to charge for this. What's the deal?
Okay. The deal is that for people that bought Default Folder 4 after June 1st of 2015, the upgrade is still free. Kind of feel that's fair.
Okay.
For people that already own an older copy of Default Folder, it's $14.95, and for new users, it's still priced at $34.95.
Best $34.95 you will ever spend on that. I will tell you. No, I mean, I don't like to gush, but I have to tell you, when something deserves it, I go on record of saying it. I mean, it is. If you own a Mac, you need Default Folder 10. It's just that simple. You might not realize it, but if you look at the testimonials, people will say, I wish I had known about this. All the time I would have saved, and it continues to be that time saver, and also it reduces the frustration. I mean, the frustration, and
That's half the fun of owning a Mac.
I'll go back
it
in
isn't?
your corner.
Oh, my bad.
It does, and also, I mean, let's face it, the Spotlight. It's wonderful. You forget something, but Spotlight is still, it's still a little cumbersome. And then when you want to when you have a file somewhere that you've saved in some nested hierarchical folder that's buried, and you did it 2 weeks ago, and now you can't find it. But Default Folder will take you to there because it remembers those most recent ones, and you say, just open that in the Finder so I can find it. That saves you enormous time, because then you can see the path, where you were. You can move the whole folder to something more reasonable, maybe to your desktop.
Right.
I mean, you really get it. Makes working on a Macintosh much more pleasurable. And so future plans for Default Folder 10. I know it just came out with this, but just tell us a little bit about the future.
As I was saying, enhancing that drag and drop area, I've got a whole bunch of plans for that, and it's just a matter of making the time to do it. Beefing up the tagging capability a bit, and let's see, just
You pull out your notes.
I know. I'm sitting here going, what's on that list now?
Sort of the crash. I mean, let's face it, folks. I mean, he just released this thing, and so you need to take time to step back and take a breather, take a week or so off, from those 60-hour work days, and just let it happen, and just let people upgrade it and find out for themselves. The upgrade is available now at the website. And by the way, Default Folder 10 is your flagship product. I know you have other products there as well, like App Tamer, but you can see them all when you go to St. Clair Software. The website again, stclairsoft.com, and again, go to computeramerica.com. We have a link to the St. Clair Software website, and you can see all of the wonderful things that John is doing. But again, get Default Folder 10. You will thank us for it. putting you onto it, and you'll thank John for creating such a wonderful piece of software. I know it's venerable; it's been around for a long time, and hopefully it will continue to be on for many, many, many more years to come. John, listen, thanks so much for being with us here on today's show and letting us know.
Thanks for having me on, Craig. It's always great to be here.
And it's a lot of fun having you. And again, you just keep up the great work that you do there at St. Clair. And
thanks.
And listen, happy New Year to you. And we'll see you again. Keep me informed as new things come out, and new developments. Love to have you. All righty.
Okay.
All right, John. Thanks.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, there he goes. John Goto, again, owner and lead developer for St. Clair Software. The flagship program, Default Folder 10 version 5, and you can see it again. Try it, get it. It's certainly economical. It's very inexpensive, and it will change the way you work on your Macintosh. I guarantee it. It's just going to make your life so much simpler, especially if you're using a Mac for on a daily basis. If you're using it, or even if you're just a casual user. Even as a casual user, you're going to appreciate what Default Folder 10 brings to the table. You really will. I've actually been on a Mac that didn't have Default Folder 10 on it, and I was lost.
Really?
Yeah, really. And then I realized what it is. Why isn't this working? Why isn't I go? Oh, it doesn't have Default Folder 10 on it. And I believe he has a lot of testimonials of people saying that too when they work on it. When they work on a Mac that doesn't have it installed, it's like, wow, they need to get this on here. All right, coming up in the second hour, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. It's been a while since we've done computer news, and certainly going to have lots of interesting stories, including IBM leads the patent grab for the U.S. for the 23rd consecutive year. More on the Vuzix smart glasses. We've got lots of stories coming up. Stay with us. This is Computer America.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
Yeah, and again, if you were just joining us, we just finished talking to John Goto. He is the owner and lead developer for St. Clair Software. We're talking about Default Folder 10. Version 5 just came out Monday, brand new, a complete and total rewrite of this venerable utility. It's been around for a very long time, and again, I always go on record saying if you have a Mac and you need to have Default Folder 10, you got to have it, and after you use it, you'll understand why. It's just that good. It's just that good. If you missed it, you certainly can listen to it again. We archive all of our shows at ComputerAmerica.com. Head over to the website at ComputerAmerica.com and just click on the Archives tab. It'll take you to all the different places that you can listen to the show. Apple's iTunes, the Log Talk Radio Network, the TuneIn Radio Network, the IRN Radio Network, all the different places that carry it. And also that carry archives of the show, so you can listen to it at your own leisure. But we'd love to have you here when we're live, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, on our time slot. Our daytime time slot continues to prove to be a wonderful move on our part. So, and we're glad to have you here with us. So, I realize on your Windows machine you don't have this situation, this scenario, but
No, we don't.
But for those of you who have Macs, you're going to really appreciate it. Okay. Anything else you want to mention before we start doing our computer news section? Oh, let me just mention this. It comes to mind. Tomorrow's Friday, and that means we're going to have our social media winner of the week. We're going to have that. Every Friday, we give away a really nice prize from our good friends over at Logitech. And we continue to give away the Logitech MX Anywhere 2 wireless mouse. This is a really, really nice looking mouse and a really great functionality. It can be used as a travel mouse because it's smaller. It works left or right hand. It has their dark field technology, so that means it works on glass. You can't use optical mice on glass surfaces for the most part, but this will work on it, or on your jeans or wherever you want to. You can pair up to 3 different computers and switch between them with the touch of a button on the bottom of the mouse, thanks to their Easy Switch technology. Again, it's valued at $80, and we're giving another one away on tomorrow's show. Okay, usually in the second hour we do that. So head over to computeramerica.com. Go to our homepage, and you'll see right there the tab that says interact, and then the first selection is social media contests. It'll take you to our contest page. It's real simple how to enter. We have never described it to you in the new year, so let me just take a moment to do that. When you go to that page, you'll see all the different places that Computer America is available, all the different social media pages like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest. You'll see them all there. Go to each one. Click on, for example, the Facebook page. It'll take you to Computer America's Facebook page, and all you have to do is like it. Now you have one entry every single week from now on. You only have to do it once, and you have if you go to the YouTube page, go back and go to the YouTube page and subscribe to our YouTube feed, because we have your own YouTube page there. Now you'll have 2 entries every single week. You just have to do it one time. Now you have 2 entries every week. Go to our Twitter page, follow our Twitter feed. Now you'll have 3 entries every single week, and so on and so forth. So that's how it works. You just have to do it the one time, and then you are in. So we got, so we're giving away that mouse, that Logitech mouse. Head over to computeramerica.com. Just another fun way for you to participate and interact with us at Computer America. Okay. Anything else, Ben? Before we do our
there we go. Nope. No. That's I feel like we're as Computer America, as the show that we are, we are using the wrong terminology, and I don't want to give anything away yet, but I mean, right at this moment, it's running through my head. We keep using the word forever with our social media winner. Yeah. That might not be the case for forever, because forever is a long time.
Well, that's true. And we always change things. We make new rules.
So, yeah, don't want to say forever. And we're thinking about ways to actually make the social media contest more interactive, more engaging, and that, kind of liking it once and forgetting about it really doesn't help us out. And it really doesn't, it's really not entertaining.
That's true. You make a valid point. You make a valid point.
So it's we're thinking about ways to change that, and Logitech, they've been helping us out with prizes for a long time. But with some of my contacts from CES, again, all this just what I'm thinking, but hopefully we're going to get some more contest sponsors and hopefully give away more prizes on a weekly basis.
Excellent.
And it will be more of an engagement thing than just a once and done, because that again really doesn't do anything on our end. So
hey, all right. So hey, listen, I'm game. I'm all for it. Okay.
Right. Again, just spitballing out loud. If anyone has any comments or anything like that, feel free to send us a comment. But that's just what I'm thinking, is that in the sometime in the future, we will be changing it from a one done to a like, follow, post something, comments, something like that.
All right. Sounds good to me. All right.
I get the feeling you don't want to talk about this.
No, I do want to. I mean, as you mentioned, we always are looking for new ways. How long have we had the social media contest in place now? Has it been a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year.
Okay. Well, then we're about due for a change. So, and of course, our listeners, if you have any suggestions, we always love to hear them. You can always send us an email to live@computeramerica.com, and our suggestions. Again, it's all at our website, computeramerica.com. If you have a suggestion for us, we'll always love to hear. Always love to hear from you. Okay. All right. Well, let's do some computer news. Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Slimwareutilities.com. Check them out. We use all of them here at the Crossman household. They continue to improve. The Windows 10 versions of the Slimware Utilities continue to enhance and make the your Windows 10 experience a great one. We suggest that you download them all, use them all. You'll be very happy that you did, and you will thank us for it. Remember, it's just slimwareutilities.com.
Right. So if I get the honors of doing the first news story, is this no. You guys did news stories while I was away at CES with Nathan Evans. So yeah, you guys have been doing stuff. So sorry if there are repeats. I try to keep them current and as current as possible. But I think for the first story, we're going to start off with some heavier fare. And we're going to start off with, this is from the New York Times, and author is Somini Sengupta, who I assume is Indian. But and this is about the internet yields uneven dividends and may widen inequality, which is something that you really don't hear about. The like we hear every day about the effects of the internet and how it's changing the Internet of Things, how it's changing employment, what people are doing, how people are interacting with each other. The internet affects everything that we're doing. But we're hearing about how much easier, convenient, and better the internet is making things, and rarely do we hear the other side, where the internet actually has the possibility to, as the article stated, widen inequality. As in, people who are in positions of power using the internet are in a better situation to increase that power, whereas people who are struggling or don't have power to begin with, they don't have the same opportunities. So getting into this article, kind of starting off with, can the internet save the world? And in some places it's helped curb corruption, encourage more girls to go to school, and enabled its citizens to monitor election violence. But this is according to the World Bank, who has put out this this whole idea, saying that the vast changes wrought by technology have not expanded economic opportunities or improved access to basic public services in ways that many had expected. They said, though, that the report, again from the World Bank, warned darkly, internet innovations stand to widen inequalities and even hasten the hollowing out of middle-class employment. So, yay, happy stuff that you want to hear about. But it's this is a real problem, where they have a quote here from the report saying that digital technologies are spreading rapidly, but digital dividends, growth, jobs, and services have lagged behind. So
this bank, right? Yeah.
This is from the World Bank. So the World Bank is a news organization. So yeah, not a bank, but
Okay.
World Bank. So again, those who are well off and well educated have been able to take advantage of the internet and the internet economy. And while the report concluded pointedly, and despite the expansion of internet access, 60% of humanity remains offline.
I wouldn't think it would have been such a large number. Good grief, 60%, more than half of the world's population are not online.
It really is a different lifestyle when you think about how I use, of course, for the show we use it for our work every day, but I mean, just even in my in my leisure time, I can't imagine not using the internet. I mean, yeah, there are books, but how I spend 90% of my leisure time is, of course, through some kind of connected device. So
now it's not. Are they accounting for, let's say, underprivileged world communities? I mean,
no. When they say humanity, they mean the world population. So this is in developing countries as well.
Okay, well, I can understand developing countries might have access to the internet, or less. But even the ones it mentions China. China
Well,
actually has the largest number of internet users.
right.
So
Right, and which again is followed by the U.S. and India, and but for U.S. to be ranked in there with India and China in terms of internet users, China again with a population of like 1.1 billion,
mm,
India with a population of like 1.2, 1.3 billion, and then the U.S. with a population of about 400 million. So a third of the population size, but ranked up there with internet users. As an American-centric show, we're kind of used to the idea that everyone is connected to the internet because in America, that's mostly true. If you want access to the internet, be it through satellite, be it through dial-up, be it through hopefully broadband, you have access to the internet. But in a lot of places, and going through developing countries, a lot of people don't. The infrastructure just isn't there.
yeah, you see how my mind works. Say 1.3 billion people in China. You realize if you had won the Florida the Powerball lottery, you could have given each and every one of them $1 and still had change left over.
Yeah, and the Chinese economy isn't doing too well, so that dollar is more powerful than ever.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah,
But
anyway.
yeah. So they said that the bank's findings come at a time when the technology industry has been rushing to expand internet access in a lot of places. Google aims to use a constellation of balloons to beam down wireless signals to places that lack connectivity. We've mentioned that before, using weather balloons, and of course, Google would try to provide internet, at least some low-speed internet connectivity, to everywhere in the world, and that is, of course, something that they're doing.
I don't know. Weather balloons. I don't know. Weather balloons. That still strikes me as, my Wi-Fi isn't working because the weather balloon drifted out of orbit slightly. I mean, that I don't know how secure or how.
Well, again, that's not for you. That's for, hey, we're hiking in the Andes and we need an emergency signal. Then you'd use that. It's not to replace your home infrastructure by any means. By any means. Right. If you're in the middle of Sudan and you need an internet connection, Google has your back. AT&T probably isn't going to run fiber out there to you. It's for places where you don't have internet connectivity, much like in many developing countries. Again, Craig, the weather balloon internet system is not for you.
And I would think satellite would have been a better way to do it.
Satellites are expensive, and even the connectivity that they do provide here, satellite kind of stinks.
Well, the limitation with satellites is the speed of light because you go up down twice or something.
Who knew that the speed of light limited you to 10 megabits per second? That's impressive.
It is. It's lag. You get that lag. Okay. Well,
weather. Yeah, but and I'm not sure if you guys covered while I was gone, Facebook's mess up with India.
No, we did not.
Right. Well, it seemed like a good thing at first, where Facebook was providing internet to India through their train systems. They were running fiber along train tracks, and at these train systems, they were providing hubs for users to get free Wi-Fi. We covered that before last year, I believe.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and so that went into effect, and almost immediately, India kicked Facebook out. And Facebook was appalled. They say, why would they turn away free internet? Well, it's because the internet that they provided was heavily restricted, heavily monitored, and only at approved sites and heavily advertised. So it was much, much more of a pain to use and almost extremely closed version of the internet. And India, even with their lack of internet connection, said, this is awful. We don't want this. Get out. So,
as you know, on the technology level, India is quite advanced. So
in certain places, I mean, not everywhere. Again, in a country of 1.3 billion people, you can't have that infrastructure everywhere. But as a people, they are very technologically inclined and very, very intelligent. So they know a bad thing when they saw it.
Yeah.
So Facebook, points for trying, but
couldn't pull it over
very, very poorly.
Couldn't pull one over on the Indians. No, they're too savvy about that. Yes.
Yep. So But yeah, continuing on with this article again from the New York Times, they're saying that uh, widening this divide. And here's one thing where women were discouraged from going online in some countries, which was again the report from the World Bank. And across the countries in South Asia, they are far less likely to own a mobile phone. Those who were illiterate, so about 20% of the world's population, cannot take advantage of the internet at all. And in the developing world, the technology industry employs barely 1% of the workforce. In rich countries or developed countries, technology employs about 3 to 5% of the workforce, which again is still a small fraction of total employment.
And they're playing that gender card again. Women are less likely to own a mobile phone.
Well, yeah, just in a lot of places, women are disadvantaged. It's
sad.
very, very sad to see. You can't downplay it enough.
Yeah.
So and they're saying that the bank, which says itself has invested $12.6 billion in information technology products, calls on countries to make the internet, quote, universal, affordable, open, and safe. Yet it also takes pains to say that expanding access will not be enough for citizens to take advantage of the benefits. It also recommends enabling companies to compete, strengthening the skills of workers so that they obtain new jobs, and making government institutions accountable. So yeah, the concluding quote was, "The triple complements, a favorable business climate, strong human capital, and good governance will sound familiar, and they should, because they are the foundations for economic development." So in the end, this is saying that when not managed poorly, and I think this report from the World Bank is kind of saying that it currently is being managed poorly, or at least is not being managed quickly enough, is that when you have everything in place where you have an open, free, accessible internet, and you have people who are willing to, who have the know-how, have the knowledge, and know to go out and utilize the internet, and then of course having the state have the infrastructure to put in the internet, the economic growth is incredible, as we've seen here in America. It's just how much the internet has changed and how many businesses have sprung up just thanks to the widespread usage of the internet. And it's but if it's managed poorly, these large countries with tons of population, or even just these countries that are already behind, if they don't take steps to close that gap a little bit, then they're going to be left behind, and it's going to be harder and harder for them to catch up. Because again, technology, it changes all the time, and it really does seem to be advancing development. What was it, like 50 years ago we sent a man to the moon? Now you can go to the moon on Google Maps. It's the World Bank report was just saying that it's time for these countries to really make a concerted effort to increase internet connectivity among their people, because there's so much to gain from having everyone online.
Did you notice who wrote this article?
Yeah.
So himself of Indian descent. So
it's an important topic, and it's one that we're going to talk more and more about. Like this is the other side, where in America, we're in the next 10-20 years, we're going to be wrestling with the implications of having a fully automated workforce, and that's a lot of problems. But other countries are going to have a problem of the more powerful economies are going online. They're going to be the more powerful economies that they want to interact with are going to only do business with those who are on a similar technology scale. So if you're not up there, then you're forced to be left behind, and then your citizens aren't going to have enough opportunities, and domino effects. Your country is not going to be in a very good place. So
well, as you say, we'll keep on top of it. You know, obviously, this is not something that's going to go away immediately. You're talking about something that when you're changing.
Well, it's not going to go away immediately, but it's a problem. It seems to be a theme that we're having on the show lately, in terms of technology conversations. Is it's a problem that is building, and yes, you can stick your head in the sand and say, "Oh, don't worry, other people will fix it," but it's a real issue that's gonna affect people.
Well, does it
And
say what you and me and I can do to fix it, Ben?
um, Well, just from what this article is saying about the World Bank, and I think the best thing that as the average citizen can do is, again, that quote at the very bottom saying that the internet, having internet as isn't enough, as we saw with Facebook and in India. We need an open, free, accessible, and safe internet where people can go on, explore ideas, pursue their businesses, pursue an education online without fear of being reprimanded. And I think, just average American listener, the best you could do is support an open, free, and accessible internet. Don't try to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They can censor this part because, we're afraid of terrorism. We can censor this part because, it's bad for the economy. No, censorship in any form is, of course, bad, because as soon as you start censoring, you can censor for almost any reason. So open, free internet, promote that as much as possible, because that's going to be the foundation for other countries
Sure.
heading into this.
All right. Okay. Now, this next story, again, we follow 3D printers, especially with Ralph Bond coming on the show. He loves to talk about 3D printers. He's with Autodesk, certainly understand that. And we've seen 3D printers that build whole homes that you can move into, 3D printed automobiles. We're seeing all this incredible technology. Well, here's a story coming from Popular Science. Yet another application for 3D printing. Get this. How about a 3D printing roving robot that repairs potholes? Let that sink in. Evidently, there's a company called Adabot, and they've invented a 3D printing robot that uses raw materials to build surfaces up layer by layer, much like a boxy desktop 3D printer would. But basically, it can steer itself. It can be driven by remote control. And what it does, it has an array of nozzles on the bottom of it that would basically lay down materials on a road as needed to repair a variety of surfaces. Now, this is kind of interesting. I mean,
I hope for the day when I can drive through South Carolina and not hit a pothole. I mean, potholes, when they're not a problem, you don't even think about them. But when they are a problem, they're everywhere and they are terrible.
Well, not only, I mean, they're talking about this on roads, but in other words, you could. They first tested this, the Adabot on an ice surface, and the idea was that the robot could deposit water with a temperature, let's say, just above freezing, and then into the cuts made by skates and hockey rinks, and then freeze once coming into contact with the ice surface. So as long as the width of the array accurately represents a crack or hole, the Adabot is passing over. The repair work could be done at a constant speed.
So they're trying to replace the Zamboni.
Yeah, well, with this first type, yeah, exactly. Without having an operator do it. Over the few miles. The Zamboni, of course, is that big machine that they use to treat and maintain an ice hockey or any kind of a skating rink. Mm-hmm. Right. So the question is how an Adabot would lay down tar to fix damaged asphalt. Basically, is a little trickier than water, obviously, and that's the problem the company is working with now. The chemical processing could be done, let's say, on board the Adabot. You could have tar materials, which have to be kept at a high temperature, by the way. Anybody who's driven by an asphalt repair knows the smell of tar. It can be done in a tank with a constant heat source, and they could use different power sources depending upon the size of the robot, and then it would fix the road. But there's still obstacles that they're dealing with. Keeping dust out of what the Autobot prints is a priority, since dust has a tendency to mess up 3D prints. So they're working on incorporating a post-processing mechanism into the Autobot itself under its undercarriage that could ameliorate any problems dust might cause, which I think is kind of neat. It goes on to say that while the developed a working prototype, he needs funding to continue prototyping with different printing materials. So it's not necessarily the printer itself; it's the material. Okay, because then after you do it, obviously you want to use material that's going to last a long time. You don't want to clean up the pothole and 2 weeks later you got a pothole again. Obviously, you have something that's durable. So they're taking different checks on it. They think a team of Autobots could print objects of any size with an array of any materials. And their objective is to come up with this roving robot that could do road repair. So, it might not be a sign that you see men at work, fines doubled. It might be robots at work, fines tripled.
Robots at work, fines halved.
Fines halved, right, exactly. Don't run over that robot.
But if you do, it's just a robot.
Very interesting story, I thought.
For sure. Yeah, so and we really don't have enough time to get into another one, but 3D printing, if CES was any indication, 3D printing is definitely has been in the manufacturing field for a long time. And at CES, there was an entire area devoted to 3D printing, and they were printing everything. They had scanners. They had, they were just trying to show ways that 3D printing belongs in the home. They just need to convince the end user to drop $300, $400, $500 and show them why they need a 3D printer. That's the goal right now. 3D printing is coming. It's just how fast can we get you to adopt it?
All right. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Ben and I are continue to do computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Got a lot more stories coming up, including a bug in the Nest thermometer that's causing them some headaches. We'll be right back with more. This is the Computer America Show. Please stay with us. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hey, just because he has a small knife and a small brain, it doesn't make him a micro neurosurgeon. Hi, Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, Yatra music muffs. They look like earmuffs, complete with fuzzy side cups and a fabric jacket around the top headband. But if you think that's all, you're just getting, warm. Connect them by cable to your smartphone for one of the nicest headphone listening experiences we've heard in a while. One more piece. The mid-cable dongle has a shuttle control and a mic, so now you can do phone calls without frosting your lobes. Bottom line, Yatra music muffs may look like warm, fuzzy ear muffs, but they sound like truly good quality earphones. So your ears can play it both warm and cool. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yes, 33 minutes past the hour in the second hour. So, we are doing computer and technology news brought to you by, of course, Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. I believe I said that right.
You did.
We're just going over the news stories of the past day or 2 days, because there has been a lot going on.
It has.
And if you could see the list that I'm looking at, there are tons and tons of news stories that we could possibly cover. But it's we did go over.
Do you want me to do the next one? You want me to do the next one while you choose one? Because I got one here ready to go.
No.
Okay.
Slow down there, champ. Let's go with here it is. Craig, you use Netflix, right?
Yes, I do.
Just kidding. Everyone uses Netflix. That's not even a question.
But I did upgrade to the new feature of Netflix because, as you know, we got a ultra high definition TV, and for like $3 more, they will stream ultra high definition to you. So I've upgraded to that feature.
That they will. But something that's come out about Netflix lately is that Netflix, they have the base categories, and I think they give you like 15 different categories that you can sort through. Be it horror or be it comedy, action, drama. Like they let you sort by like 15 different categories. But one thing that came out recently was that behind the scenes in Netflix to help Netflix generate those suggestions that they give you, there's actually about I want to say about 45,000 different subcategories that they don't let you search through. Again, they try to keep it to those broad 15 different categories, and they said they don't want to that they don't want to overwhelm the consumer with all the choices. But hey, if you're one of those crazy people that likes choice, there's a way now for you to sort through all those categories.
Yeah, how?
And it's through a handy dandy browser extension. So, and this is going to be for Chrome and for Firefox users only. But they're in the respective plugin, extension, add-on, whatever you want to call it. For Chrome and for Firefox, it's called the Netflix Super Browse, not browser, browse extension, and it's again available for Chrome and Firefox. So, and of course, Netflix Super Browse adds a Super Browse header to the left of the browse header at the top of Netflix. And again, hover over Super Browse and you'll get a drop-down menu of these subcategories listed alphabetically. And yeah, I mean there's tons upon tons of them. With the extension, the extension doesn't replace any of Netflix's regular search tools, but adds another tool if you are in the mood for something specific. And again, the list is long but scrolls easily. So Netflix Super Browse may become the go-to Netflix search option, particularly because the author will become more familiar with a long list of categories. But again, this one feature, it has all these subcategories, as in like Australian movies. Like, who's ever going to search for that?
Asian action movies.
Right. Deep sea horror movies. Like, they're tiny, very niche categories. But if you're looking for something like that, might want to check out Netflix Super Browse.
Are you saying that I would not be able to find these the films that are in these categories if I didn't have this?
You'd be able to find the films, but you'd have to, like, let's say you wanted to find deep sea horror movies, you would have to go to the overarching category of horror, and then you'd have to browse through every single movie that was horror to find a deep sea horror movie.
So in other words, it's not that you're getting more movies from Netflix, that those movies are there, you just can't find them or easily find them, and this extension will make it easy.
These movies are more tags, if you know what they are, for categorizing things.
Yeah.
And the tags are not meant to be seen by the average user, because let's say you gave Shrek, just movie off the top of my head for some reason, let's say you gave Shrek 5 stars. Shrek, while obviously a comedy movie and maybe under animation as well, it also has all these subcategories of, like, animated with accent, or talking animal, something like that. Like, it has all these little subcategories that you don't see, but it helps Netflix recommend other similar things to you by using these subcategories. And before, again, they weren't visible to you, but now through this extension, they are.
Well, let me ask you this now. Now, as you know, we have Netflix in the family, and you have yours, and we have ours. And one thing I can't figure out with Netflix and all these titles, let's say you want to watch a movie and you inadvertently watch it on my, because I have Craig and Ben, but let's see, Ben and Craig, and there was one that you looked at on my account. I can't find a way to remove it. And it says that
there's a way to do that.
I can't.
Let me go to Netflix, because if Craig has had this problem, then I'm sure many of you have.
Yeah. Someone in your family watches something under your account, and they say, "Oh, sorry," and then
you go to Netflix.
Yeah.
You go to your user account, and I believe it's taking a little bit for it to load for me, but it's under, I want to say, like account settings, and then it has something like view history.
Yeah.
And this is also good. Let's say you watched a series, and let's say you watch like episode 3, you watch that 15 minutes in, you watch the next episode, you watch that like 2 minutes in, and then you go forward and you watch the whole thing of that. Like, if you ever wanted to completely remove a series and kind of completely reset a series, it's the same thing, where you remove it from your watch history, and it won't recommend anything based on you ever watching that.
That's
and
good.
If you try to watch it again, it will reset everything to the proper times. So
that's good, because the other thing is that you watch a movie, but you don't watch it to the very end of the credits, and you have like maybe 2 minutes left at the end of it. It'll stay in the category that says, finish watching what you want. And I've already finished it. I just didn't take it to the very end. So it'd be a nice way to use something like that to remove.
I wish there was just like a right click kind of deal, and it's like right click remove, but you have to go into the account settings.
Okay, and figure out there, because there's a number of instances where you want to get rid of something, or you watch a bit of it and you go, oh, I don't like this, but now it thinks that you like movies of that same genre, and you go, no, that's not what I wanted. So you need to get a way of removing that.
It's possible. Again, just it's hidden in the account settings.
Okay, well, I'll play around with the account settings, and maybe we'll talk about it next time we do some news as to what we discovered. All right, Ben and I are continuing to do computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. This next story, interesting. I remember I was talking about this, something similar to this, where we reported on what was the world's first 6 terabyte solid state hard drive, and we went, oh my gosh.
I think we were flipping out over the first 10 terabyte.
Well, guess what? Now the world's first 13 terabyte solid state drive is here, again, according to PC World. So now 13 terabytes on a solid state drive. You see, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's destined to happen. But right now, you're going to pay $1 a gigabyte, which means that this drive is going to cost you $13,000.
And again, folks, $1 a gig for solid state drive, that was acceptable, 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe about 5-6 years ago, it was about $2 a terabyte or a gigabyte. But nowadays, solid state drive, I think, has fallen to about 30 cents a gig. So obviously, you're going to pay a premium for the form factor.
So this one right now is. I would hate to be the person that shelled over $13,000 for this drive, and then 2 years later, it's selling for under $100. So, but
Early adopters is what you do.
we laugh about it, but it's happened time and time again. People have these huge drives, they spend a huge fortune, then like 2 years later, it becomes mainstream, and for a fraction of the cost. But if you want to be cutting edge, folks, well, here it is. Again, the world's first 13 terabyte solid state drive, and it's from Fixstars. They yesterday announced the Mammoth SSD 13000M, which will ship by the end of February. Okay. An official price hasn't been determined by Fixstars, but it's roughly estimated selling for about $1 per gig, or $13,000. Now, the pricing could fluctuate, but according to a spokesperson for Fixstars, not by much. Okay. Now, you can't walk over to your local Best Buy to buy this. Okay. Nor can you go to your local Amazon to buy this. The only place you're going to really get this drive is Fixstars itself, directly from that. It will not be available through online retail stores or sites. Obviously, the company is targeting this drive at enterprise or anyone who won the Powerball lottery. But other than that, well, anybody with a big wallet basically can touch base with Fixstars to purchase this drive. Okay, now
Right. But it's very, very clear why they're doing by per request only, in that they don't want to print up or they don't want to make 10,000 of these things, be a couple $1 million in the hole in making these things, and then everyone's like, well, I'm just gonna wait a year and a half, and then they're out a bunch of money. So they're probably making them as you request them, they'll make it.
Yeah, that's basically. I think Ben's right. They don't say that specifically in the article, but it sounds to me like if you order from Fixstar, they will build the drives to your order.
Right.
And have very, very low, if any, industry. Okay. Now, according to the story, it's going to be a 2.5-inch drive. It plugs into the SATA 6 slots on motherboards. It has sequential read speeds of 580 megabytes per second and write speeds of 520 megabytes per second. That's not megabits, megabytes per second. So that's really fast.
Not bad. Not bad.
No. The random read and write and speeds were not provided by Fixstars as of yet. Okay. Now, competitors like SanDisk and have not said that they were going to, or indicate when they're going to catch up to this capacity. SanDisk said that it would release 6 terabytes and 8 terabyte solid state drives this year. Samsung also said it would release a 4 terabyte solid state drive this year as well. Now, the Fixstars 13 terabyte solid state drive is based on NAND flash technology that's from Toshiba, which holds a minority stake actually in Fixstars. It uses a proprietary controller from Fixstars that is designed to faster sequential read and write speed. So they've designed the brain of the drive. Toshiba's providing the memory for the drive. It's obviously targeted. They're targeting companies creating a streaming video, which requires sequential reads and writes by accessing large blocks of data. Okay, and yes, it can also be used for scientific computing and cold storage. Fixstars, by the way, is based in Japan, and again, they also announced, by the way, a 10 terabyte drive, but the price wasn't available for that immediately. But anyway, 13 terabyte drive is here. You have to order it on a 1-by-1 basis and spend one heck of a lot of yen on this. It's going to be very expensive.
No kidding.
Yeah. But as I say, give it time and prices will drop, as they always do.
Right. So, and again, you can wait for that, but we did do that report, I want to say about last year, late last year, like a couple weeks ago, saying that the future of solid-state drives and traditional hard drive, with a spinning platter, they're going to meet somewhere in like 2018, 2019, where the price for a solid-state drive is going to be, almost 1-to-1 with a traditional hard drive.
When that happens, it'll actually be before that point, Ben, though. But excuse me, I think at sometime before that, we're going to see the end of magnetic spinning hard drives and personal computers. It'll all be solid-state drives.
Well, it only makes sense because solid-state drives are faster, less power hungry, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is not sad news. This is
No, it's not.
definitely.
This is a tantamount to the disappearance of the floppy disk drive. Eventually happened to technology.
Right.
Has better things.
Right.
Well,
But for this next story, we only have about 10 more minutes left, so I really want to get this in.
Okay.
And this is the U.S. government. Yes, Big Papa. The U.S. government announces $4 billion in self-driving car program. So, the U.S. Department of Transportation will have a national blueprint for autonomous vehicles within 6 months. It's one thing to hear about Tesla and Google and all the car manufacturers. It's one thing to hear about them having their plan for self-driving cars, but to hear the government say, "Here's what we're planning," that's big news. So, and this again from Engadget, the author being Andrew Tarantola, wherein he's saying that turns out that we're closer to our self-driving car future than most of us expected. Saying that the U.S. Department of Transportation, Anthony Fox, announced at the Detroit Auto Show on Thursday that the Obama administration will have a national blueprint for autonomous vehicle standards by July.
Wow.
What's more, the administration is earmarking about $4 billion of the 2017 budget to create a decade-long program that will support and accelerate development of the technology. So, obviously they're getting right behind it. They have a quote here from Secretary Fox saying that we are on the cusp of a new era in automotive technology with enormous potential to save lives, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and transform mobility for the American people. Currently, each state has their own individual laws regarding self-driving cars. And of course, this is going to force automakers and early adopters like Google to juggle multiple sets of rules and regulations, depending on where in the country the technology is being built.
Wow.
Such as, Google, for example, being built out in California, saying that they must have a human driver be present at all times should something go wrong. This program should reduce the number of hoops companies have to jump through by creating overarching national level development framework. So again,
it's tough enough to do this now, but to not have to juggle 50 different states with 50 different laws for cars.
Well, I think it was funny for what Google did. I mean, Google, they kind of announced that they had a self-driving car like 100,000 or like 500,000 miles after they had already done it. Like they went with the tried and true, easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Yeah.
So
that's not going to work. I mean, I understand that they got
when they first started, and it was cute because it was like, they didn't have to cut through any red tape because there was nothing on the books to govern this.
Right. They just
but this is good though. This is good that Google did that because now we see the potential for the technology and we can see where it has weaknesses and what we need to legislate around without being overly scared. Because I'm afraid if someone went ahead with autonomous cars and said, I can put a car that's going to drive itself on the road, there would have been so many knee-jerk reactions to say, no, you can't do that. We can't have that. No. And like development would have been severely hampered by, the what ifs out there. But because we're already at a point where so many private companies have taken over development of the autonomous car field, that now the government's just trying to say, okay, here are some standards, here's how we're hoping this shapes up, and here's what the government says is what we're going to allow. Like the initial push I felt was done by surprise, and that probably helped self-driving cars potentially make it to the roads by 2020 instead of 2030 or 2040.
Well, certainly within our lifetime. But
again, it's all this. There wasn't nearly as much fear mongering as self-driving cars. It's going to be the end of us all.
no,
Because they already had them working before they even mentioned anything.
So that was kind of good, but as you say, now we have to deal with all the committees and states and stuff. So,
but it's okay because that had to come eventually. That has to happen at some point. That you have to have a national unifying standard.
Yeah, because you can't go across the border into another state and then have a whole different set of rules and regulations. That's crazy. We can't become fractionalized. Our country can't become like that. You have to be able to go anywhere you want in the U.S. and not have to worry about.
It'd be terrible if, I don't know, I'm just gonna not automakers, but let's say it'd be terrible if, say, you cross the state border and taxes were completely different. That would be awful. Oh wait.
Well, that's true because the land doesn't move around. The land stays where it is, but it is what it is. But
it's easier when the entire nation is behind a single plan.
Yes, it is, especially things that move from one state to an interstate, not intrastate, but interstate devices that move.
I don't know. Well, no.
Yeah, interstate.
Yeah, interstate.
Moving from one state to another. Interstate means within the state. Interstate means going from state to state. And land doesn't go from state to state. Land stays where it is. So you have your rules and regulations. But for vehicles and things that move between states, you need to have one federal law to govern devices like that, so things don't change.
So we'll definitely keep an eye out for July when they said they're going to have their plan. But kind of looking forward to see what all these car manufacturers are going to have to meet before they can put their cars out on the road.
Yep. We have my time for one quick more story here, and I kind of teased it from Tech Hive. Nest, the Nest thermostat. We have a Nest camera. It's just a wonderful device. Really does a terrific job. But evidently, the Nest thermostat, there's a software bug in it, and evidently, it was from a faulty software update for the smart thermometer. And basically, the faulty update made the batteries drain and home temperatures drop. Okay. And evidently, some people reported they woke up to no heat. And right now, the country is getting that polar vortex. Things are getting really frosty up there. You don't want to do that. December, we had, record warm weather, but now it's cold. The cold is here. And evidently, the problem stemmed from an update Nest issued back in December, but only started popping up recently. Again, that users are complaining that their Nest thermostats have lost power and gone offline. Okay. It's the Nest update 5.1.3, the one we're talking about here, describes several other potential problems. The thermostat could be unresponsive or not charging efficiently. How could they let something like this out? Don't they test it ahead of time? How could they let this happen? It's amazing to me.
Things happen, and Nest is now a huge company. I forgot who bought Nest out, but they're part of a much larger company. I mean, we just had Mr. John
Google
from they got bought by Google, but we just had John, who I want to say he's a one-man operation where he
yeah, I think he is.
Yeah. But I mean, he's the only one who's working on that code and fixing that code. I mean, with just one person, sometimes things happen that I'm sure he sent out updates that weren't, that had unforeseen consequences. It's just a way of programming.
Yeah, especially when you have something where you have multiple programs working on it. Still,
you fix one thing and 3 more things break. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, well. So other reports that it could be turned on but slow or uncontrollable. And the worst case scenario, the Nest could be off with its battery drained and unable to turn on again. And in that case, users have to unplug the Nest from the wall, charge the battery with a USB cable, and follow several other steps to get it operational again. According to Nest, they say they have fixed the bug for 99.5% of users. It's like that Ivory soap, 99 and 4,100%. You know, it's a 0.5 still out there. Again, according to Nest, though, it's never 100%, evidently. However, some users have noted that they are traveling and unable to tend to their ailing smart thermostat, which may be necessary to keep the pipes from freezing, you know, things like that. And as the New York Times points out, even a short outage could be a problem for elderly users, elderly users, or users with infants, especially during the winter.
Like the solutions for these problems, though, it's not like you have to send it back to the factory to be reprogrammed. It's not like you have to go pick up a new one. It's not like they have to send a replacement. I mean, the solution is, hey, unplug it, charge it somewhere else, and plug it back in. I mean, the solutions are not that drastic.
No. Well, we find ourselves once again out of time. Again, I want to thank John Goto with St. Clair Software for being with us here in the first hour, and look forward to hearing and seeing what else he's going to add new. Now, coming up tomorrow's show, Friday, we're going to have Driver's Little Helper on the first hour. This is
90 seconds.
Interesting company that allows you to take any car seat. It doesn't have to be, you know, a one, but any car seat and apply this technology to it. Basically, it just retrofits, so it's very simple. And basically, you can keep track of your kids, who are the kids that's in the car with you. You can monitor temperature, movement, arrival, all the different things. It uses Bluetooth. It works with any car seat.
Sounds like the Internet of Things has finally caught up with car seats.
60 seconds.
Car seats. And then on the second hour, a company called Gosh's is going to be here with it. They allow you to take lighting for your home and control lights, but with ambient temperatures. You can actually take photographs and sample the photographs and take those colors and put them into your lights. It's going to be really interesting in the second hour of the show. That's all coming up tomorrow night. We're going to have the CEO of each company talking about these different products. Anyway, that wraps up the show, and Ben and I want to thank you for being here with us today, and Ben and I will see you tomorrow afternoon. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Have a good one, everyone.
Don't forget our social media
10 seconds.
coming up too.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody. Again, thanks for watching us behind the scenes, and Ben and I will see you tomorrow afternoon. So take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.